Hello guys and girls, welcome back to yet another TryHard Diablo 3 class guide. So we'll be going over the wizard. We'll be covering things such as spec, gearing, and we'll go over the 1.0.4 patch notes. So let's get started with a couple of specs here. So as you recall last time, the specs I went over were the Archon spec and the one I kind of made with the Blizzard Shock Pulse. I don't know if you watched the guide or not. But the main thing I said about the Archon build was that it was for higher gear levels only. The good thing about 1.0.4 is since the nerf on the damage on the enemies and the overall health, this build is actually, I'd suggest using this build pretty much under all gear levels. So we'll go over that first. A couple things. You can completely adjust the spec to your playstyle. It's absolutely up to you. Your primary and your kind of secondary spells are just completely determined on your playstyle, 100%. So these are what I'm using. It's up to you if you want to use them or not, but this is what I feel most comfortable using. So I'm going with Shock Pulse with Piercing Orb. Now why I'm doing this is I really like Shock Pulse because it goes straight through enemies and you don't have to worry about you know, it like stopping on one enemy and just hitting one guy at a time. It just literally goes straight through huge crowds of enemies and owns them really badly, and it does really good damage at the same time. So it does 105% weapon damage to everything it hits. It goes in a zigzag and it's really nice. Now I'll show you the other build you can kind of swap these in for afterwards, but for now we'll stick with this. Secondary skill, I'm using Blizzard with Snowbound. Now this reduces the cast of actually costing Blizzard by or 220 arcane power. So this makes Blizzard pretty much spammable. Really good for slowing mobs. You can just spam the shit out of it, really. Pardon my French, but it's pretty much slows everything. Does 210% weapon damage in the radius, and it's really good. Literally just spammable. Even if you have no arcane power on crit, like I don't, I wouldn't recommend not doing that. But yeah, it's really good. Now, Archon build. So improved Archon. Everyone knows what Archon is by this point. You know, it gives you crazy damage. It increases your armor and resistances by 40%, and it increases the duration by 1 second for every single mob you kill. And now with the rune I'm using, improved Archon, this gives you 25% increased damage on all abilities. The other ones aren't very good. Teleport's okay if you're having problems with survivability, but still, improved Archon I'd say is the best one by a long shot. Now, with this build, obviously, it gives you 40% resistances and 40% armor. So if you have a high base resistance, which I do, then it makes you more or less invincible. It's really good. So with this build, I'd recommend going for resistances, but I'll cover that in the gear and things like that. Now, you're going to be in Archon form most of the time, so your 3 other skills, you don't really need too much survivability on them, mainly because you can't use your skills in Archon form. So what I'm going to recommend is use Familiar with the extra 12% damage. Now that just gives you straight up 12% damage, and it gives you the little Familiar who does a bit of damage himself. Now this, you can use whatever you want. Energy Armor. I'm using Prismatic Armor. Reason being is my resistances are really high. This plus Archon form gives me like 1,200 resist all. The most popular one is Force Armor, and I'm not going to say I don't agree with using it, but I find stacking my resistances so high actually gives me a lot more survivability than this does, because most of the hits I take don't do more than 35% of my health anyways. So yeah, this kind of makes me a bit more invincible, I suppose. But I mean, getting into kind of starting in Archon form, I'd actually recommend using Force Armor until you get about 600 resist all, and then I go for Prismatic Armor. Now, okay, so magic weapon, again, this is completely up to you. I just like the extra damage, and I don't need survivability on anything. So I'm using 15, it gives you 15% increased damage instead of 10. Now, if you're having problems surviving out of Archon form, because you're not going to be in Archon form all the time, realistically, there are times when you're not, I'd recommend swapping this either for Diamond Skin with Crystal Shell for the extra damage absorbed, and you can swap it for Teleport with, I think it was Wormhole, is the, yeah, that's my favorite one, Wormhole. You can teleport about 2 or 3 times before it ends. So, again, it's completely adjustable to your playstyle. This is the one I'm using because my resistances are high enough. So if you have high, like, I don't know, 500, 600 resistance, I'd recommend using this. It's really good. Now, the passives, you can use, again, whatever you want. This is what I'm using. Glass Cannon, 15% increased damage. That's obviously amazing. Sadly, you know, decreases your armor by 10% and resistances, but it's worth the damage trade-off kind of thing. Unless you're having problems surviving, then don't use it, but I'm pretty sure everyone's using that. Now this one, I don't know if I'll get a bit of criticism for this one, but I actually really like this. Reason being, it increases the armor duration, or the duration of your armors by 120 seconds. So when I'm in Archon form, and I don't want to say I'm relying on energy armor, prismatic armor to keep me alive, but it's helpful. So that makes that a 4-minute duration. So I don't have to come out of Archon form every 2 minutes to recast that. I have to come out every 4 minutes, which is it adds a huge difference in kind of your what am I trying to say? Your efficiency while leveling or while grinding. Sorry. So that makes it a 4-minute kind of cooldown, I suppose, or 4-minute duration. And on top of that, it gives you 310% life per second, which is actually really nice. You notice your health going up. Even I don't have life steal or life on hit or anything. My life goes up pretty quickly, so that's nice. And then the third one, I'm using Blur. It decreases melee damage taken by 20%. You are going to take hits in Archon form. Reason being is you don't have a slow, and most of the time you're just going to be standing there nuking as fast as you can. So with these two, your survivability goes up quite a bit. The only ones I'd really recommend swapping them for is if you're having problems keeping up Archon form, you could swap out one of those, or, Glass Cannon, for Evocation, which reduces all cooldowns by 15%. Other than that, if you're using the Archon build and you're keeping it up most of the time, none of these are really great. Critical Mass is okay, but I mean, again, it's not really necessary. When you learn the farming routes and stuff, your Archon form is up the whole time. So it's really, really good. Now, adjustable for this spec, like I said, you can obviously, if you don't like Shock Pulse, you can swap it for whatever you want, really. Energy Twister with, I think it was, I forget which one it was. I haven't really been using it, so I don't know too much. I was using it for a bit. That's it, Wicked Wind. It makes the Energy Twister stand in place like this. I'll just give you a quick example. So you can have a couple of those going at once, and they do pretty crazy AoE damage, and they sit there just AoEing and AoEing, and you can stack them on top of each other and things like that. So it's really nice. And if you have Arcane Power and Crit, which I'd recommend if you're using Energy Twister, it makes this, it makes it so it pretty much, you can just spam the crap out of it. It's awesome. So if you're using that, you can swap Energy Twister. You can swap anything in for that. Again, really, your off ability, or you can even use Energy Twister as your off ability, and then a signature spell and your main ability, like Shock Pulse or whatever you want. Really, I mean, all these spells were buffed, but none of them are amazing right now. But I mean, this is by far my favorite spec right now, and I find it the most efficient. The second spec we'll go over is if you don't want to play Archon form and you just kind of want to do something maybe a bit different, or I don't know why you would. If you can get away with playing Archon form, I'd seriously recommend it because it's amazing. But yeah, we'll go over the second spec right now. Okay, so this is the second spec. Similar to the first one in nature, except for you're not using Archon form. Now the primary and secondary I'm using are, again, Shock Pulse with Blizzard, same runes. Reason being is it's just my favorite playstyle. I find it's really safe just spamming Blizzard, Shock Pulsing through, combines, it's really, really good damage. Now with your Hydra, I did do some testing with the other new Hydras, and I came to the conclusion that Venom Hydra is still my favorite. Reason being is the other ones are good damage, but it seems like Venom Hydra, when you get a few pools stacked, it does a bit more damage compared to the other ones. I mean, you might argue that and say one of the other ones is a bit more damage, but just from what I found with a couple hours of testing, I found Venom Hydra was still a bit better, and it suited my playstyle a bit more as well. Now, I don't actually use Teleport or Diamond Skin in my build, but I'm going to recommend for you guys to use it. Reason being is I showed roughly the same builds in my last guide, and lots of people said they were having problems without Teleport and without Diamond Skin, which is fair enough. I mean, I have some pretty high resistances, and I'm okay at avoiding damage. But if you get hit quite a bit and things like that, your gear's not that great. Teleport and Diamond Skin. So Teleport with Wormhole makes it a 1 second. What is it? 1 second cooldown after you cast it. It delays it, so you can essentially get 3 teleports off before your cooldown starts, which is really nice. And then you have your Prismatic Armor. Again, it's up to you. My resistances are so high that I prefer the Prismatic Armor on my Energy Armor, sorry. And then if not, Force Armor is really good as well. Okay, and then Diamond Skin with Crystal Shell, that doubles the amount it absorbs to 22k almost, which is really, really nice. So your survivability, you have a lot of survivability there with Teleport and Diamond Skin. Your DPS will be still pretty damn good. And then Glass Cannon, the extra 15% damage, which is almost too good to ignore. Cold-Blooded, now this is awesome now since 1.04 hit. This is probably one of the biggest changes I've seen. When you're using Blizzard and you slow or chill something, you do 20% to all different types of damage, which is amazing. Really, really good. And then I'm using Blur with this. Decreases melee damage taken by 20%. Now, if you don't want to use that and you want to, and your survivability isn't great, don't use Cold-Blooded and use Critical Mass. Reason being is it lowers the cooldown on your Teleport and Diamond Skin constantly, making it... Now, I'm not going to say they're going to be spammable, but you're going to be able to use them a bit more often. So that's really, really nice. So again, it's completely adjustable. If you don't like the Shock Pulse and Blizzard style, you can change it up for whatever you want. Not a big deal. Meteors, see, I don't really like using too many other things like Meteor or I don't really like energy armor or energy twisting builds and things like that. But yeah, this build is overall, it's really solid, and it's really, really good for people getting into Inferno mode, definitely. It's probably one of the safest builds you can play, and overall, it's pretty good damage as well. It's got survivability, everything in it. So yeah. I'll post a link. Sorry guys, I'm losing my voice here. I'm a bit sick. I'll post a link in the comment section below of the 2 builds I'm using, and there's going to be a build to my profile, so you can see whatever build I'm using at the current time and things like that. So let's move on to a bit of gearing and stats. I don't want to cover it too in depth here, but I will just tell you kind of what you should get on each piece of gear, and if you're playing Archon, what kind of stats you want on your gear. Alright, so this is an overlook of my gear right now. I'll just quickly run over each piece in a second. As you can see, my resistances are pretty good. Overall DPS unbuffed is 73k, so you know, I'm not showing my gear off or anything, but this is kind of what you can aim for. This is perfect stats. I can farm Act 3 really, really efficiently. This gear probably cost me about 60 million, which you're probably saying, oh my god, that's loads, but at the same time, you know, it's achievable for everybody. 60 million is a good, like, kind of aiming points to get. I mean, anyone can farm out a few million in a day if you put the hours in, kind of thing. So yeah, let's get started. I'll just quickly show you the gear I'm using. That was my most expensive piece. It was like 30 million or something. The rest of the gear wasn't too bad. But yeah, okay, so there's that, which is high DPS. So on your main hand, you want to go for something with high DPS, preferably an open socket, crit damage, and intelligence on it. You can get an exactly similar item with 800 to 820 DPS for not even 2 million gold, with you know, high resistance, or sorry, high intelligence, kind of decent crit damage with an open socket. You can do that for about 2 mil, which is you know, achievable for everybody again. Your offhand, now ignore my offhand. I didn't want to invest too much into making the guide just because I have to splash around my money everywhere else as well. So you want to aim for high damage on your source, which high damage I would say is 300 to 350. I would consider that high damage. Anything below that is not great. You can get really high intelligence in your sources now, anywhere from you know, 100 to 200 intelligence. I got Vitality on mine, which is okay. I mean, you know, survivability, can't go wrong. Critical hits grant 8 arcane power, which is really, really nice. And then what I would recommend on your source, like you said, I haven't really gone for it. My DPS would go up by about 7k if I did. Go for 8% critical hit chance plus. So the stats you want to go for: high damage, high intelligence, arcane power on crit, and 8% or well 8% plus critical damage. That'll give you really, really pretty crazy DPS, I'd say. All right, we'll go on to rings. Rings you want to go for high crit chance, attack speed, intelligence, and whatever stat you want on there. Now, obviously, rings with attack speed and crit chance can be quite expensive, so if you can't afford both, go for critical hit chance and intelligence. The attack speed adds on quite a bit of price onto the rings, so, you know, that's kind of annoying if you don't have too much gold. So, high critical hit chance, high intelligence. If you can afford it, attack speed. And if you can afford it, even more, critical hit damage, but I can't afford that, so. And again, as you can see, followed through on my other ring, reasonable intelligence, not that high. Critical hit chance, attack speed. So that's what you want in your rings. Your neck, you want critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Because the reason being you don't get attack speed on this is you get such high critical hit damage on your neck, which you can't achieve on your rings. Around 60%, that's really good. So what you want to do is you want to aim for anywhere from 7% on your neck, plus around 50% crit chance, plus high intelligence. The reason I don't have the high crit chance, just because I think I found this neck, or someone sold it to me for a good price or something, so yeah. But yeah, I'd recommend 7% crit plus crit damage on your neck. Okay, moving on to the rest of the gear. So your helm, always I'd recommend critical hit chance on your helm. A good helm can be really expensive nowadays, mainly because of the socket with the gem in it. So you want to go for critical hit chance, anywhere from 4% plus, decent intelligence, 100 plus, all resist if you're, well, obviously I'd recommend all resist in all of your builds now. Reason being is survivability. You know, it's if you're playing Archon, you do need survivability because you do take a lot of hits. There's no way around it unless your DPS is high enough to the point where you melt mobs. So anyways, high intelligence, high resist, critical hit chance, 4% plus, and if you can afford it, you know, I don't expect you guys to be able to afford all these stats plus an open socket because it can go quite expensive. If you can afford it, get an open socket for the increased bonus experience, because obviously for Paragon leveling, things like that, it's amazing. Okay, shoulders, straight up, just intelligence, vitality. You can get really high vitality on shoulders, and all resist. it's clear and simple, just kind of plain and simple. Sorry. Intelligence, vitality, all resist. If you can afford life radius pickup, it's a nice stat for Archon form, and I'll tell you why when I get to the belt. But yeah, so really kind of plain and simple. Chest, again, you want to aim for intelligence. You can get really high vitality on your chest as usual, and then all resistance. The main items you want to focus vitality on are your shoulders, chest, and legs, by the way, because you can get the most stat kind of value on those. So high intelligence, 3 open sockets, gems for intelligence, vitality, all resist. Lightning resist, ignore that. I don't know, it was just on there, so I wasn't going to say no. Legs, again, you can do better than this. They're not that great, but higher intelligence kind of, vitality, all resist, plain and simple. Now your belt, you can do pretty cool things with your belts. You can get life percentage, you can get life, gold, and health pickup radius. You can get loads of things. I thought this was a pretty good belt. High intelligence, what you want to aim for. High vitality, decent all resist, high armor, and then gold pickup radius. Now why gold and health pickup radius is good for Archon is since you're standing still nuking, and every second you're not standing still nuking, your survivability is essentially going down, because I mean the aim is obviously to knock health globes out as quick as you can, and if you're just standing still and you're knocking health globes out of them every 50% every kill on an elite, you're picking up the health globes without moving, and you're not losing DPS. So you're essentially standing there nuking for the mob kills you pretty much, and getting the health globes, so it's kind of balancing your health up to 100%, which is really nice. So again, on belt, high intelligence, vitality, all resist, and then whatever you want from there. You can get life percentage, golden health pickup radius, or armor, whatever you want. And then onto the gloves, high intelligence. I haven't gone for all resist on those because I had enough all resist around my gear. You want to aim for high intelligence, anywhere from 7 to 10% crit chance, and then attack speed or critical hit damage. It's up to you, whichever one you want to go for. Critical hit damage will overall give you a bit more DPS if your crit's high enough, but I got this for a good price, so I was like, I'm not going to say no. So what I'd recommend is, instead of attack speed, I go for anything 40% crit damage up, maybe 50% if you can afford it. So high intelligence, crit damage, and crit chance, and then all attack speed if you can afford it as well. Why not? These are okay. I wouldn't recommend, going such low intelligence, but these have decent, low intelligence, high all resist, and critical hit chance. So on your bracers, you definitely want crit chance, guaranteed. You want to aim for anything from 80 to 100 intelligence, anywhere from 50 to 60 all resist, and those are pretty much, good bracers you want to go for. And then boots, you want to aim for movement speed, high intelligence, and all resist. You can get vitality on those if you can afford it. Again, it's just up to how much gold you have or not. So high intelligence, all resist, and movement speed. So overall, on all of your gear, everything that's not a weapon or rings and neck, you want to aim for as high intelligence as you can. Always important, because intelligence does give you all resist, and it gives you the most DPS. And you want to aim for all resist in all of your gear. If you're going to pick a resist to go with your all resist, I'd recommend physical resist, mainly because you take the most physical damage in Archon form. And the same gear goes for the second spec I showed you. You just want to aim for as high crit, intelligence, and all resist as you can, maintaining a decent amount of vitality. When I say decent amount of vitality, I mean anywhere from 800 to 1,000. That'll give you a good base health. If you can afford life percentage on your gear, go for it. You can never go wrong with life percentage, because it does up your health by quite a bit. I mean, you can sit around 45k health on a wizard and be pretty much invulnerable. So yeah, that's about it for gearing, guys. I didn't want to spend too much time on it today, just because, I mean, you don't really need to. So yeah, that's about it. I'm going to put a link to the gear in the section below if you want to have a look at it. This gear, if you don't see the gear on my witch doctor, or sorry, on my wizard in the on my profile, it will be on my witch doctor. This is my witch doctor's gear, the exact gear. So if you if you look at my wizard and be like, oh my god, he's naked, look at my witch doctor, because it's the same gear. I share gear on those two characters. I don't see why not. So yeah, let's move on to the changes of the 1.0.4 and how they've affected the wizard. Alright guys, we're going to move on to the 1.0.4 patch notes. Just a quick thing on the gearing and stat section. The one thing I forgot to mention is if you're going Archon form, life steal percentage is really, really good. Go for like 3% on your weapon if you can afford it, and the damage you do heals you crazy amounts. Anyway, so we'll move on to the patch notes. So with wizards at 1.0.4, not a lot changed, unfortunately. It's kind of up there with monks, I'd say. I mean, the class was pretty good to begin with. I just don't think they saw any real changes to make in the class, other than buff a couple different things, just to make it a bit more maybe versatile, or give you a bit more choice in what you want to pick. But it more or less has ended with the same old kind of stuff you're going to use. So we'll go over the patch notes here. So what they've mainly tried to do is just increase the damage on a few of the signature spells, hopefully make them used, but it didn't really work. So Arcane Torrent, they reduced the cost of it, increased the damage, changed a few of the ruins like Arcane Mines from 150 to 180% damage, which do crazy damage now, but it's just still not I tested it out for ages, didn't seem worth using. Cascade, again, they increased damage by about 35% or something? Yeah. And it didn't seem to make a huge difference. I still don't really use it. Archon form, I was really excited, hoping they'd do something really cool with it, like give you a few more skills to use or something, but they didn't. Instead, they just changed nothing. They gave slow time duration from 8 seconds to 15. Wow. And then Arcane Destruction, so when you cast it, I think, it explodes around you, does 1,600 damage, which is crazy, but you're not going to pick that over the 25% flat-out damage. Let's be realistic here. It's just not that good. It's cool, like, wow, everything explodes doing insane damage, but it's a one-time thing. You know, you're not going to spam Archon form going in and out of it, so that's a bit disappointing. Diamond Skin, they didn't really change anything. They made Mirror Skin do 1,000 reflect damage, which is pointless. I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just saying most of these changes aren't very useful. So, 100% reflect damage on 10k damage, I think the absorb is on the base shield. So it does 10k damage. Wow. Thanks, guys. Enduring Skin increased to 8 to 9 seconds. Diamond Shards, weapon damage from 155 to 210. Again, nothing too crazy. Electrocute. Now, this is nice. I mean, if you are watching this guide and you haven't leveled a wizard, Electrocute was my favorite skill. I'm going to check which rune did I use. I think it was... let me just quickly have a look at my thingy here. I think the rune I used... Sorry, the reason I say this is because Electrocute is my favorite leveling spell. That's right, I used Chain Lightning, so it increases the number of targets it hits from 4 to 6. This is amazing for leveling. Reason being is you one-shot mobs anyways while you're leveling if you've stacked a bit of gear. And this hits 6 enemies instantly, just instantly killing them. So the nice... change on this 80-90% damage is that it increases, it makes you one-shot mobs even more while you're leveling. So that's the only plus on that. I haven't, I tested this a bit in Inferno, and it didn't really make a huge difference. Still not going to use it over not Arcane Orb, whatever it's called, Shock Pulse. So yeah, again, nothing. Energy Twister proc coefficient reduced from 0.25 to 0.125. Meh, whatever. Not the end of the world. Everything else, I'm not going to go into too much detail here on Explosive Blasts. And increase the damage. Explosive Blast is amazing if you're going the crit mass build, so it's always a plus. Hydra, now this is one of the main changes they did in the actual patch. They've increased every single Hydra to make them usable. I've tested every single Hydra for about, about half an hour roughly, maybe a bit more. And they're all pretty good. I mean, they're all usable. It's up to your playstyle. They all do different things. And yeah, I mean, it's up to you. Like, if you're not using Blizzard in your build, Frost Hydra is good to use. The damage is actually really good. They all have positives and negatives about them. I still prefer the Poison one because it seems to do the most damage still. Argue that if you want. It's up to you. I mean, it's your playstyle, really. Ice Armor, nothing, great. Increased bonus stack from 15 to 30% on the armor. It's nothing, nothing you're going to use a skill because of the changes. It's not, nothing great. Meteor, they increase the damage, which is nice. Other than that, they increase damage on the rest of the ruins. So if you're into your Meteor builds, maybe melee wizard with your Meteor and slice thingy, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, then that's cool. That's always good. Everything else, Shock Pulse, they increase the rune damage on the other one on Firebolts, and then Lightning Affinity, they increase the Arcane Power restored from 2 to 3, but it's nothing spectacular. Spectral Blades, what did they do? Now guarantees a slow movement. I didn't actually read that one before I started here, or I don't even think I've read that one in general. Now guarantees to slow the movement speed of enemies by 80% for 1 second rather than a 5% chance to knockback. Oh, so it's nothing great, really. Teleport, Skill Rune, Calamity. That's useless. I mean, you're not going to use that rune, really. It does damage when you teleport to the mob, I think it was, or away from them. And then the Cold-Blooded, I'm not sure. If you guys let me know about this, it says the tool type has been updated to clarify all damage has been increased by 20% to frozen or chilled targets on all damage. Now, was this increasing the damage on all damage to chilled and frozen targets before? Because I never noticed if it was, or is this a new thing where it's doing all damage instead of just frozen damage? If you guys could let me know in the comment section below. I've looked into it and I couldn't find anything. I didn't look long, but yeah. So yeah, overall, positive, buff for the wizard class. Nothing, they didn't really nerf too much. Everything's just increased damage, trying to make it a bit more versatile. I don't know. I think 1.0.5 will be Wizard's time to shine, along with, like I said, Monks will probably get the same chance. I have a feeling they're going to do a few mechanical changes towards the Wizard and Monk to make them a bit more different, when 1.0.5 hits. Mainly because they didn't really do much this patch, and a lot of Wizards complain, like, oh, why didn't you change this that much? So I have a feeling 1.0.5 will be Wizard's time to shine, hopefully. Let me know if you agree in the comment section below as well, if you think we're going to see a few mechanical changes possibly. Just trying to think off the top of my head. The main thing I'd like to see of Wizards is maybe make Archon form a bit more versatile. Give it a few more skills inside Archon form. Not to make it, overpowered and crazy good, but like maybe, I don't know, something cool like a slow in it, or like, teleport is a permanent thing, or, I don't know, something cool, like something different. Maybe like a knockback for enemies, or anything in Archon form other than the 2 buttons you're pressing, and maybe 3 if you're using the rune. Because it's a bit boring right now. I mean, I play my wizard here and there and just shred through enemies, but it's like you're literally just holding right click and then hitting 1 when an enemy gets close to you, and it's just like, how many hours can I do this for? It's fun as hell because you're owning mobs, but at the same time, add something new into it would be nice. That's what I'd like to see anyways. But yeah, guys, that covers it for the 1.0.4 patch notes. We're going to go on to a couple of my future guides and what I want to cover. And I want to also talk about kind of my coverage. I'm going to do an actual separate video, but yeah, I'll talk about that when we get into the separate guides. So that about wraps it up for today, guys. Like I said, I want to talk about a couple of the guides I'm coming up with in the future. The next one will be the 1.0.4 Barbarian guide. I want to apologize to all my Barbarian friends for the actual, how slow these guides, how slow this one will come out. I didn't pick the Barbarian guide for any specific reason why I wanted to do it last. It's just the order it ended up coming in, and also for just general, the guide's coming out a bit slower than usual. A lot of stuff's been going on in real life. I got an actual job to do. Loads of summer kind of things have been happening. I'm not gonna lie, the release of 1.0.4, it coinciding with Guild Wars release, was pretty stupid. I wasn't too happy with that because I have too many games to play. I got to get some Guild Wars guides out. Not that I'm, leaving Diablo as last priority, but I do need to, I got to get Guild Wars going as well. And just generally being busy, So I apologize for that. So future guides, we got the Barbarian coming out next. I want to do the melee and ranged survival guides before Mists of Pandaria comes out, because it's going to be hard to get everything in at once Mist comes out. And yeah, I mean, if you guys have any ideas for guides and things, shoot them my way. I'm mainly waiting for PvP to come out now so I can bust out some PvP guides. I'm generally a pretty good, 2700 rated player in WoW, so I'm going to be okay in this game. When I PvP, I'm competitive. I only try to get better. So the PvP guides are going to be pretty good, and they'll, teach how to hopefully own some noobs, really. The only sad thing about Diablo 3 PvP is that, unfortunately, it's gear dependent, very, very, very gear dependent. Skill's not going to get you too far, so it's up to you guys how much gold you have, really. Skill will get you somewhere, I don't want to lie, but I mean, let's be honest here. It's Diablo PvP. It's a one-shot fest. It's gonna be a one-shot fest unless they add in some kind of resilience, which they won't. So, but yeah, anyways, PvP guides. And I got some more fun Diablo stuff coming up as well. So, hopefully you guys like this the Wizard guide. It's not much change about the Wizard, so it's kind of hard to fit in a few kind of cool new specs and things, like game-changing things. So hopefully 1.0.5, the Wizard guide, will be a lot more fun for you to watch, a lot more enlightening, to say the least. But yeah, I'm going to pop a few links up to a couple of my other guides here. Look out for the Barbarian guide. It'll be out next week. And watch out, I mean, if Guild Wars is your thing and World of Warcraft's your thing, look out for that kind of stuff. It's coming out. And if it's not your thing and you subscribe for Diablo, I'm sorry. It's, that stuff's coming out. Hopefully you don't unsubscribe because of it. I like you guys here. It's, the more subscribers, the better. It drives me to make better videos and things. So, guys, thanks for watching. That's it for today. This is me signing out. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.